bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dhammāṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Saṅghāṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Dhammāṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Saṅghāṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Dhammāṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Saṅghāṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. So welcome, friends, to this Wednesday evening Dhamma discussion and meditation practice. So the topic of this week is kind of a little bit similar to the topic that we went over last week. So last week we went over the Dhammapada verse of the mindfulness is the path to the deathless. Unmindfulness is the path to death. The mindful do not die. The unmindful are as dead already. Now, the verse actually the title this week is basically Mindfulness of the Body, Gateway to the Mind. So last week we talked about, it stated mindfulness is the path to the deathless. Now mindfulness covers the four categories of mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of feelings, mindfulness of the mind, and mindfulness of the Dhamma. If you're following the Buddhist teachings, not just this kind of more modern kind of talk about mindfulness, but anyway, but in the mindfulness, and this week we want to focus on just the mindfulness of the body and how that, and why mindfulness of the body is actually the first of the four foundations of mindfulness. And it comes before mindfulness of feelings, perceptions, volition, and consciousness, if you're familiar with the five aggregates. Now, so this phrase, the mindfulness of the body, gateway to the mind, basically it's rephrasing that same Dhammapada verse, but in a more sort of specific way. Now, so why do we say mindfulness of the body is the gateway to the mind? And that's because basically, the mind operates through this body. And if you've heard my talks before on sort of the development of the baby in the womb and how consciousness was in every cell of the, evolving fetus. With each cell division, awareness or consciousness went into each succeeding cell. And that in 9 months it formed this multi-billion cell, and they all have a form of awareness. And everything occurs through that cellular activity. and even in our brain, the brain cells and so on, are also responsible for, governing perception, feelings, thoughts, and so on to a certain extent. I mean, it's fairly complicated, but nevertheless, but basically the mind operates through this body and it's connected to the sense organs. So all of our feelings, perceptions, and thoughts and memories and ideas, desires, aversions, they're all based on the sensory data coming through our senses from contact. So we hear something, see something, smell, taste, feel something with the body, and even have a thought pop into our mind or a mental vision. All these things are occurring within the body's nervous system. And that's why, but normally we're not aware of those mental activities. All we're aware of that we just get lost in thoughts, and we get, emotions come up, thoughts come up, desires and aversions, but we don't really see how they've come up normally. We might have a vague idea, but we don't really clearly see them because our mind is distracted and the mind is not centered and grounded in the body. As I've said, many times in the past, our mind is normally moving between the past and the future. And if it is aware of the body, it's aware usually with desire or aversion, reacting to painful sensations, or desire, for pleasant body sensations, craving for them, and so on by, various means. So it's not really clearly observing the body from, let's say, an awareness standpoint, because there's always something invested in our mind about the objects that we are, encountering, want to encounter or encounter kind of spontaneously, just randomly, you hear a car crash outside and then you start thinking about that and so on, or, you can deliberately think about a thought of your, friend or enemy or things like that. But usually we are, just reacting to these physical and mental stimulus. So the mindfulness of the body, I know I've given this talk before, and I'm sure most of you have heard about it, know about it, and the foundations of mindfulness. Basically, there's many aspects to mindfulness of the body, and it starts with the breathing. The breathing is the first thing that we encounter, because when you breathe in, the air touches the nose, or the abdomen or chest expands and contracts, the lungs. And so your attention then goes to that point of feeling the breathing, whether it's feeling the sensation of the air moving through your nostrils, or it's the expanding and contracting of the breathing, one of those two methods of anapanasati. And so it brings your attention to the body because, as I already mentioned, normally we're not aware of our body unless we are feeling some irritation, or, as I mentioned, looking in the mirror, or some other specific reason. And our mind is usually caught up in objects of the past, future, and, so it's not really grounded. So the breathing gets you to the body. And then in that mindfulness practice, then, the Buddha has you, examine the body. And that's just a trick to keep the mind on the body, feeling the hair of the head, skin, nails, teeth, various sense, the organs in the body, and seeing how they're impermanent and so on. But the fact that you're just paying attention to these parts of the body, running through them. And it helps to create this kind of outline of the body. And of course, different teachers will teach mindfulness of the body in different ways, but the way I normally do it is, just to keep your attention on the body and try to feel that outline of the body and then the sensations going on. Anyway, so that being grounded and centered in the body is what I mean when I say mindfulness of the body. So it's in a very kind of a specific instance, because that creates the field of attention, so that anything happens. When you have the outline of the body, that means you can vaguely feel your head, you can feel your arms, hanging at the sides, you can feel the clothing touching the skin on different places, you can feel your buttocks pressing the seat, you can feel the straight back, you can feel the eyes in your sockets, as I have you normally do at the beginning of every meditation. And then once you've felt those individual places, the mind can more easily put them together and create this sort of outline of the body, where you would be able to feel sensations basically coming from all those different places in kind of one, observing awareness, or at least, very short period of time. You feel more and more sensations. That's the point. The more of the physical sensations you can feel, the more deeply and centered and grounded you will be in the body, and that is where the mind is operating from. Meditation basically happens between the brain and the spinal column. But the spinal column is the stairway, you might say, that allows us to feel the body. And because what happens to people that get paralyzed, right? Get in accidents, and whatever spinal vertebrae they get paralyzed from, they can't feel anything below that. So that's why we need that nervous system to feel the body. And so the more you are attentive to the body and the posture, that's why feeling the posture, even in the instructions in mindfulness of the body, after observing the breathing and hopefully gaining some concentration on the breathing, ideally to the first jhana, but even if not, even somewhat, then you start knowing that you're sitting. When you're sitting, know that you're sitting. How do you know that you're sitting? Because you feel the posture. Sitting posture is different from the standing posture, or the walking posture, or the laying down posture. So when the body is sitting there, if you're feeling it, you know that is a sitting body, because your legs are crossed in a certain way, your back is straight, and so on. Or when you're standing, know that you're standing. Know that you're walking. And the knowing means feeling those sensations of it. And those sensations are contained within that outline of the body. And so that's one of the best methods for really deeply grounding the attention. Then once you have a front row seat, it's like I say, it's sort of like having a front row seat at the movie theater. You climb you take your seat and you observe the body just sitting, breathing in, sitting, breathing out, sitting, kind of like you're watching yourself in a mirror. You're observing your body sitting there in a mirror, or watching like you're watching right now. You're seeing, my body sitting there, right? So, you say, oh, Bhante, Rahula is sitting. How do you know it? Because your mind has memorized what a sitting position is. Or even the word sitting position, immediately it comes into the mind. This is through brain activity and memory and so Now, a lot of you might say, well, okay, this is common knowledge. Yeah, it's common knowledge, but for most people it isn't. When it counts, an ability to actually maintain that awareness when you are meditating. Because it's there that you observe the mind. So the mind is feeling, perception, volition, and consciousness. That means pleasant and painful feeling. Now you're feeling sensations in the body, but the mind is reacting to them in terms of these. Some of these are pleasant sensations, I like them. Some of them are painful sensations, I don't like them. And then many others are neutral sensations that you pretty much just ignore. They come and go in the background and they don't really create any thoughts in your mind. But it's the painful and pleasant ones. This is the first activity of the mind. Reacting in a way of pleasure and pain, connected with any object that happens to be coming through your senses, whether it's pain arising in the body from having sat for a while, or a fly landed on you, or maybe a loud sound arose that made your body kind of jump or jerk like that. But anyway, so all these feelings, the first stage of the mind is because you're centered there in the body, and to see their impermanence, how that the feeling, if you don't cling on to it, it usually will disappear quite quickly in being attracted to another feeling, because there's always hundreds and thousands of sensations coming through our body, because again, there's billions of cells in the body and they're all vibrating. But we only notice a few of them, a few of the strongest ones. So when a fly lands on your face, that sends sensations through the nervous system, and because you have the idea that a fly is some dirty thing, the reaction is stronger. Or just something lands on the body, and because we're so attentive, connected to the body, we can feel them quite easily. But there's so many other sensations we don't feel normally, such as the blood pulsing in your veins, or other kind of very subtle types of body sensations. And so by keeping your attention focused in the body, and having overcome the hindrances, then you'll start to notice many, hundreds and thousands, really, of sensations coming and going, even within the space of a short time. Normally we don't feel that because we're not centered in the body. And the feelings are which trigger off our thoughts, our perceptions. So whatever you feel and perceive, you think about. So with each feeling, it creates the picture, mental picture of the mind with each of those sensations. Like all those sensations of the sitting body, your brain, just like a Google, this AI now stuff can create pictures out of just, you can talk and say, AI, or whatever your name is, draw me a picture of a beautiful sunset in the mountains. And it'll do that, just from your words. But so our brain is doing that too. Whatever is coming through your senses, like the various sensations in the body, the mind is creating this perception of a sitting body. And of course, then we identify it as being my body or somebody else's body. But the perceptions are the mental pictures created out of these sensations, and they're connected with these painful and pleasant feelings too. And this is the beginning, the evolving of the mind, and then next comes the thoughts, which are the sankharas, the thoughts. So feeling, perception, volition. Volition means that thoughts arise, the thought to do something, the thought to get away from an unpleasant feeling, the thought to try to get a pleasant feeling. These are volitional formations because they cause activity, to move the body or to think more. That's why they're called volitional activities. The sankharas, they become habits. So this we can observe. If you're not grounded and detached from the feelings, though, you won't be able to be detached from the perceptions. That's why normally these mental activities, these 5 aggregates, are observed in that specific order because they're easy to get detachment to. So just watching your body, with the eyes closed, but you're watching, you're feeling this, knowing the breathing in, sitting, breathing out, sitting, breathing, sitting, breathing. And then when any feeling arises, you notice, a painful feeling or a pleasant feeling. And, or at the same time, the image of it will appear. You might say the pain in my knee. You feel a sensation, but the mind locates that sensation through memory and so on, and brings out this idea that that particular sensation, is coming from a knee. And then this knee belongs to this larger body that belongs to me. All of this is the mental process that's happening. And normally we don't see it, but when you are grounded in the body, you definitely can observe it, at least to a certain extent. And it depends on how much concentration you have. That's why really you need to gain the first jhana would be the ideal state in where these aggregates and their arising and so on becomes crystal clear. But before that, the mind is sullied by the 5 hindrances. You're going in and out of drowsiness, or restlessness, and various thoughts. So therefore, our mind is not clear enough to clearly see that process. That's why the emphasis on gaining a certain level of concentration in order to see that. And then, so the feelings, the perceptions, the volitional activities, and the consciousness. And specifically, this consciousness means the I consciousness, because the I is there for every person who hasn't attained enlightenment. The sense that I am the one that's hearing, seeing, smelling, tasting, touching, doing, thinking, wanting this, not wanting that. So it's like a shadow that's always just in the back of our mind. So that's the ego consciousness. And you can see that in meditation too. Normally, sure, when you get really, really angry, or, you can feel that I, getting stronger, but even on subtle levels, that sense of I is always there in the background too, until you've reached a higher level of concentration and awareness. So that's how you can observe, and then of course it's the impermanence, the anicca. When these things are coming, and you can see how they just come and they'll vanish very quickly. The more you are observing, the mind can't hold on to any particular one, so it'll vanish. You notice something over on the right side, and then you notice something on the left side, you notice something up on your head, you notice something down on your foot. And so the mind doesn't have enough time to hold on to any particular one, because there's always something else to notice. And so those previous things vanish, they disappear, because the mind can only clearly observe and think about kind of one object at a time. Now, when you build up awareness, you can notice many things arising and vanishing very quickly, but you're not reacting to them. But to react to a particular object, then you have to pay more attention to it. It's because our mind is normally very narrowly focused. So anyway, I'm just repeating this reminding you about this, because really that is the the key for developing insight, and the key for developing this ability to observe without getting drawn or sucked into the vortex of feeling, perception, volition, and consciousness, and getting entangled in it. So this keeping that detached observation, and it starts with the body. If you can't be aware of the body and have that kind of just watching attitude toward the body, you probably will not be successful in having that same ability to watch feelings in that way, have that detached awareness to feelings and to perceptions, the volitional formations, and the consciousness. Because the body is the easiest thing to develop that kind of what we call on-looking awareness. So that is really the meaning of this phrase that the body, mindfulness of the body, is the gateway to the mind. It's the gateway to observe the mental process, from the standpoint of, the mindfulness, the four foundations of mindfulness, or the vipassana methods of meditation. Whether you're practicing the Goenka system, that also has you just sort of watching body sensations coming and going, and not trying to follow them or react to them. Or the other styles of the Mahasi style of vipassana meditation, which you try to note each moment of hearing, seeing, tasting, smelling, touching, thinking, in different body movements, but not holding on to them, seeing how they occur, or arising and passing away moment by moment. And that you can only develop that kind of awareness when you have a good grounding and centeredness really in the body. I mean, that's the easiest way. That's the natural way, the natural stepping stone to the mind is being grounded in the body. And it's clearly how the Buddha approached his path to discerning that, and developed this very clear method of the four foundations of mindfulness. So, having said that much, now I would like to see if there are any questions that any of you might have based on any of that, or any other questions. Usually with this group of people, we have to wait a few minutes for questions that pop in your mind. See this message, start meeting somebody with AI companion. I don't need you, AI companion. Get out of here. People have to use AI every time and know what they're thinking. They won't get success in meditation. From my point of view, anyway. If you can't be clear with your thoughts and express them in a clear way, then you probably won't be able to observe the process of impermanence and Icha, Dukkha, and Anatta in a clear way. to get the best benefit from it.
Bhante, there are two questions in the chat box.
Okay. Question from an iPad. Huh? The iPad is talking. I don't know who the person is. Okay. The difference between nibbida and viraga. Well, nibbida is a word for sort of the weariness or the disgust of ignorance, or getting, seeing the dukkha and getting weary and disgust is a kind of a heavy word for this woke generation and so on, but it is disgust in a way. But it's basically weariness and getting fed up with how your mind is always tricking you, and how the world is always tricking us. Mara is tricking us. That's really nibbida. And the ignorance within your own mind, and getting fed up with it to the point that you want to do something about it. And that comes only when you get a clear kind of vision, a clear, deep insight to it. That's one of the insight knowledges. Actually, nibbida comes from that word. If you remember a Dhammapada verse I often chant after meditation, Sabbe sankhara anicchati yada panyaya pasati ata nibbindati dukkhe esamago visuddhya. So nibbindati comes from that word nibbida. One becomes disenchanted. Okay, disenchanted, that was the word I was looking for. That's a more appropriate definition rather than being disgusted and so on. But disenchanted. The world no longer enchants you, tantalizing you to crave everything that comes across your senses, or causes you to do, so on. Excite the mind so much that it distracts you. It becomes a hindrance in meditation. So, in viraga is a kind of a detachment. So there is, there's a lot of similarities. There could be some subtle differences, but basically there's a lot of these Pali terms that are quite similar in their general meaning, but have more specifics when you are looking at it from a more detailed standpoint, perhaps. My concentration is not very strong, but should I go ahead and meditate on the parts of the body during my breath meditation? Well, I would, as I kind of often do during the guided meditations, I always start with basically pretty much mindfulness of breathing. Now, we might start the first couple minutes just feeling the body, but that's just to kind of center, get the mind to the body and kind of in a general way to feel it, and then go back to developing mindfulness of the breathing, and especially the deep, slow breathing that helps to generate more sensations and to take the mind deeper into the breathing, and to awaken, subtler awareness. So, and I usually give a rule of thumb that one should practice mindfulness of breathing until you can count to 10 breaths by yourself without any prompting. If you can count 10 in and out breaths, there's different ways of counting, but the way I normally do it is, as you feel the in breath, you can be counting 1. You feel the out breath, also 1, because that's one complete round of breathing. The next in breath, 2, out breath, 2. And count up to 10 without the mind either dozing off or losing its concentration or getting caught up in thoughts. And if you lose the concentration and kind of have to second guess, where was I? Oh, was it 2? Was it 3? Then you have to start again at 1. You have to start the count again at 1. So it's like, it's a challenge, it becomes a challenge not to lose your counting. So hopefully that helps you to stay more alert, not giving in to that sleepiness or letting the mind get carried away in thoughts or other distractions like pains. So, but if you can count from 1 to 10 without the mind, getting distracted, that's what I would call the first stage of any, decent kind of concentration. Now you could go ahead and do that 2 times or 3 times, or as I often have done, when you reach 10, reverse the count from 10 to 9, and then 8, 7, and back to 1. Now reversing the count makes you be doubly alert because the mind will become confused. So it's the alertness of the mind that's important, keeping the mind alert and clear as to what is occurring in the present moment. So again, these are just techniques, but they can be very beneficial. But if you can count from 1 to 10, even just in the forward order, that may be enough. Or if you feel it's not enough, try counting back to 1. Or count from 1 to 10 and 10 back to 1. And normally, if you can do that without the mind having not gotten distracted or lost the count, you would be in a good enough position then to start going through the body in a more detailed way and tuning into the subtler sensations and so on. And because at that point, when a thought arises, hopefully you'll be able to see, thinking, and you'll be able to nip that thought in the bud before having gotten carried away by it, or any of the other hindrances. So that's usually my advice that I give people for how to develop, this kind of mindfulness and the 4 foundations of mindfulness. And the counting the breath is kind of like, a substitute for, if you don't want to count the breaths, start at the top of the head. Feel the hair on the head, for 5 seconds. And, feel the skin stretched over the face, and then the hair on the body. And feel your teeth, and, go through the 32 body parts. All that is just a way to keep your attention on the body. And so it's just another form of kind of way to concentrate the mind as the counting does. But because the breathing is going to be a constant in the back of your mind, and it's very soothing and relaxing, the breathing in the background, and that's why it's usually considered the more better object for sort of the long-term practice. Because in the Anapanasati Sutta, if you are familiar with those stages of Anapanasati Sutta, that's a different sutta than the Foundations of Mindfulness. In there, it has you observing the breath while observing impermanence and while letting go and fading away, all the way up to the experience of enlightenment. The breath is still there as an object of your concentration. So that's why the breathing is normally considered the best thing to use, because we have it always with us. You don't have to look for it. It's right there, but right there. Or in your lungs expanding, contracting. So if you and develop that ability to keep coming back and feel the body, then that breathing will stay in your mind more consistently, because the lungs are continually expanding and contracting, and that's pushing muscle tissue and other things, the rib cage, there's activity going on there, and all that is producing sensation. And if you're tuned into it, then you'll be able to easily notice it. It's like a radio dial. You have a favorite radio station if you're listening to certain types of music, right? So in the beginning, you have to hunt for the station, and but once you kind of know where it is, that station, you can keep it tuned in the whole time. So that's the same way with mindfulness of the body, because the body is always there with us all the time, from the moment of birth to the moment of death. There's nothing else that's with you all the time apart from the body, the breathing in the body. Mother and father are not going to be there all the time, brothers and sisters, grandparents, your pet dog, cat, birds, whatever else, your house or car. They're not going to be with you. And even our memories and other things, we have to go hunt for them. But you don't have to hunt for the body. It's always right here, always here and now. Okay. You mentioned perception as one of the 5 aggregates. Perception also part of dependent origination. It's not a specific mention in the dependent origination, but it arises with feeling. So depending on the 6 senses arises contact. Depending on contact arises feeling. And depending on feelings arises craving. So between the feelings and the craving, perception and the other aggregates are arising, but they're not specifically mentioned as one of the 12 steps of dependent origination. But you have to read a lot into the Dhamma, that's why you can't just read one thing and think you know everything about it. You have to read a lot of suttas, and you have to understand how all these different things that Buddha talked about, 5 aggregates, dependent origination, 4 foundations of mindfulness, how they all fit into there like a jigsaw puzzle. But you can only do that after a lot of meditation. Are there antidotes to sleepiness of the body without getting up from sitting meditation? Yes, the first thing I would recommend is straightening your posture. I guarantee that 9 times out of 10, or 99 times out of 100, if you're feeling drowsy, your spine is not straight and your chin is not lifted up. Either the chin has started to go down, even if it's of a half an inch, still, that makes a difference. That's why mindfulness of the posture is very useful and very, very beneficial. Because if you're aware of the body and aware of the posture, the moment the chin comes down, you'll notice it. And you'll be able to, lift it, or you'll notice it very quickly. And before you've really gone off to sleep, you'll be able to raise your chin back up or straighten your spine. Then apart from that, there's deep, slow breathing. Go back and take some deep, slow breaths. Hold the air in your lungs as long as you comfortably can to squeeze every molecule of oxygen out of the lungs to get it into the bloodstream to charge up those cells. And then that might help you to stay more awake and alert. And if that doesn't help, you try massaging the muscles that connect your brain to the body, which are these muscles here along the, I don't know the biological name, but those muscles there. And that's what they do in Zen practice. When monks go to sleep, they come by with a flat stick and they whack people on these muscles here that help to waken them up. Or if that also doesn't work, then stand up. So standing up and do standing awareness, because you're not likely to go to sleep in a standing position. And after you've woken up and got reawakened in the standing breathing body, then you sit down again if you want, or just continue in the standing position. You can do great meditation in the standing position too. But not going into samadhi, not for concentration, but for awareness. Even standing might be even better, because it helps you. You have to stay more awake and alert while standing. when you're sitting, it's too easy to get the mind just to, you know, get zoned out or, get too concentrated that you lose that awareness. Okay, so those are some antidotes. Okay, friends, I think we will, I see there's a golden hand over there. Okay, iPad, you got a question?
Yes, Bhante. Regarding the nibbida and viraga, the question I asked you, does metta suppress the emotions? Because I find that living with metta, helping people, or, metta during my daily life subdues the viraga and disenchantment that I feel.
If that works for you, that's fine. That's why there's so many different ways to practice within the Dhamma, because as the old cliche saying, there's different strokes for different folks. So that's why some people will get more benefit just practicing Anapanasati. Other people get more benefit practicing Metta. Other people get more benefit practicing the Goenka method of Vipassana. Others get more benefit practicing the Mahasi style of Vipassana. There's some other people who will just be attaining enlightenment following the 4 foundations of mindfulness that the Buddha taught. So, these various things are not necessarily mutually exclusive. But in the beginning, whatever works for you to overcome certain defilements, then you can use them. It's not as one thing better or worse than the other. It's about what works for you, because every person is different. And not everything will work in every time, and in every situation. But if you've been on metta retreats and you develop that ability to have metta in your mind all the time, then yes, if that helps to suppress the deal with the desire and aversion, and helps to develop this nibbida, then that's okay. But at a certain point, you have to develop a higher level of awareness, and you transcend even those emotions. That's why metta is only the first stage of Brahma Viharas. You have to go on to develop equanimity to actually attain enlightenment. Now, people might argue with that or debate that, and I'm not going to get into arguments or debates about that, but from my understanding of the way the Buddha taught the Dhamma, not some other monks, how the Buddha taught the Dhamma, he taught them in these orders that everything is a stepping stone to the next thing. So metta is the easiest thing to practice, and from that you go to karuna, compassion. It's harder to practice mudita than compassion, because it's a deeper. You have to give up your own happiness for the sake of others, or rejoice at the good fortune of others, even if it's your expense. And then equanimity at the end is just give up all those emotions and get into equanimity, and that's when you attain enlightenment. Anyway, that's just my take on it. So,
Thank you, Bhante. Thank you.
Okay, friends, I think that may be enough for now. So let's take a few minutes break and then come back to do some deep breathing and some stretches before meditating, sitting again. Okay? See you back in a few minutes. Okay, you're on being broadcast over the world. You want to be seen.
Okay. Is it okay to say, okay to be here?
Yeah, people will see. Yeah. You hide behind me.
Right.
Okay, friends, let's try to stand straight. The chin lifted up, level to the floor. Just gently close your eyes. Try to feel your feet pressing the floor. Feel your arms and hands hanging at the side. Feel the clothing touching the skin. Feel the head balanced on top. Feel the eyes in the socket. Just bring the attention to the body, become centered in the body. And begin some deep, slow breathing. You have 3 seconds to expand your abdomen, rib cage, and upper chest slowly, holding the air in the lungs for 2 or 3 seconds. And slowly breathing out, feel the last bit of air go out of the lungs. Just take a few more breaths like that, developing this mindfulness. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, standing here and now. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, standing here and now. Breathing in, feeling the whole body. Breathing out, feeling the whole body. Now we're going to combine that breathing with these stretching movements. Do the movement while breathing in, holding the position for 2 or 3 seconds, returning to the starting point on the out breath. Repeating each one 3 times. So on the next in breath, raise the arms over the head, interlock your fingers, turn the palms up, straighten your arms, stretch your head back, stretch upwards. Feel the sensation. Release the fingers, the out breath, arms back to the sides. The second time, in breath. Stretch up, and bend back a little bit. Feel the sensations, the arch of the spine. Out breath, arms back to the side. Third time, hold it upward stretch longer. And bend back a little more. Feel the sensation. Out breath. Feel the sensations in the hands and fingers. The hands slowly go back down. Feel the outline of the body. Let the mind wander. Remember standing, standing, standing. By repeating those words, standing, it helps the mind maintain this mental image of the standing body, collage of sensation. Just let your thoughts come and go in the back of the mind. Yes. The body in the front of the awareness. Now on the next in-breath, lift up on your toes while raising the arms over the head to face your hands toward each other a few inches apart. Stretch up. Out breath, come back down. Feel the sensations of fingers and hands. Use the in-breath to help lift up the body. Blowing up a helium balloon, the body rises up. Out breath. Once more. Stretch. Out. Just close your eyes, keep feeling the body. Feel the outline of the body in the mind's eye. Head on top, arms at the sides, feet pressing the floor, clothing touching the skin, clothing touching the outer skin, the life force sensations under the skin. More of those sensations you can notice in a short few seconds. Help keep the mind out of its thoughts, centered on the body. Next we'll do side bending using both arms. On the in-breath, raise both arms up, keeping your fingers and arms straight, close to your head. On the out-breath, bend over the right side, and keep your fingers and arms straight, parallel to each other like railroad tracks. In-breath, lift up. Pause a moment. Next out-breath, other side. In-breath up. Out-breath to the right. In. Out. In. Once more to each side. Out. Lower the arms. Close the eyes, feeling the body. Head on top, arms at the sides, feet pressing the floor. Clothing touching the skin. Remember standing, standing, standing. Now spread the legs and feet apart, about 3 feet, wider the better. Hold the arms out at the sides, or you're twisting from right to left. Breathe in. On the out breath, twist to the right. Keep your eyes focused on the hand going back. Turn a little bit. The in-breath, come back to the front. Let the feet turn with the body, then twist to the other side, the out-breath. In-breath. Keep alternating sides like that with breathing. Once more to each side. Over the arms relax. Feel each foot pressing the floor. Hands and fingers. Clothing touching the skin. Head balanced down the top. There's always something to feel in the body. There's no need to think about the external, outside world. Now we do the forward and backward bending. The legs spread apart. Touch the hands on the front of your legs. Breathe in. On the out breath, bend forward. Keep your head lifted up. Let the hands come down to your kneecaps. Keep your legs straight, the arms straight, and flatten the spine. Stretch the leg muscle. In breath, lift up. Move the hands under the buttocks for support. Let the head go back. And the out breath, then bend backwards. Not too far the first time. Keep your eyes open. And the arch of the spine. In breath, carefully lift up. Next out breath, let the hands come below your knees. So keep your head lifted up. Legs straight. Feel the extra stretch in the leg muscle. In breath. Lift up. Again, the back bend. Be careful. Out breath. In breath. And third time, let the hands come down towards your ankles or feet. You hold on where you can longer. Let extra stretch in the hamstring muscles. Let the little bones in the lower spine stretch out. Lift up on the in-breath. Once more, the back bend, just be careful. Lift up. Relax the shoulders and arms. Close the eyes, feel the outline of the body exactly as it is. Each foot pressing the floor, legs spread apart, clothing touching the legs, hands and arms hanging at the sides, clothing touching the skin, stomach and chest, shoulders. Head balanced on top. Feel the outline of the body. Mind is eye of awareness. The eye of focused awareness. Now bring the legs and feet back closer together. One last exercise. Head turning from right to left. You keep the chin level with the floor. On the in-breath, turn the head to the right. And look over your right shoulder. If you have a stiff neck, so careful to the sensation. The out breath, turn the head 180 degrees back to the left. And look over the left shoulder. In breath, right. Out breath, left. In right. Out left. Stop in the middle, keep feeling the body. Clothes touching the outer skin, the life force vibrations under the skin. Standing, standing. Try to feel as though you were standing on a vibrating machine, feeling all those vibrations from the soles of your feet up to the top of the head. Similar to the same feeling baby has in the womb before coming out. Mind and body are intimately fused together in the womb. Only after coming out, start looking outside, the mind loses that connection to the body. Okay, let's come back to our seats, get ready for sitting. Just try to get comfortable in your meditation seat. So to keep your spine straight, the head and spine aligned in a straight line. Just keep the chin lifted up, level with the floor. Just gently close your eyes, sort of feel the outline of the sitting body. Feeling the general sense of the head on top. The arms and hands at the sides, the hands touching together. Buttocks pressing the seat. Feet tucked underneath. Sort of hold that outline of the sitting body, or at least focusing on the breathing. Then begin some deep, slow breathing to oxygenate the blood. Help keep the mind centered in the body. Start to feel the more dynamic, expanding and contracting movements of the breathing, holding the air in the lungs for 1 or 2 seconds and slowly breathing out. Just cultivating this basic mindfulness of breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Breathing in, feeling the whole body. Breathing out, feeling the whole body. Now we're going to try counting our breaths from 1 to 10. See if we can make it to 10 without the mind either going to sleep or getting lost in its thoughts. I'll do the counting for you. Just try to follow that with your breathing and concentration. So with the next expanding in breath, mentally count to 1. Hold the breath a second. With the contracting out breath, also count to 1. Feel the last bit of air go out of the lung. The next in breath, 2. Out breath, 2. In, 3. Out, 3. In, 4. out 4, in 5, out 5, in 6, out 6, in 7, out 7, in 8, out 8, in 9, out 9, in 10, out 10. And now discontinue the counting, or if you like, you try to count the breaths again by yourself without my prompting. See if you can count 10 breaths without your mind getting lost in thought. The mind does get lost in between, start the counting again at 1. you're able to count your breaths from 1 to 10 without the mind getting lost or going to sleep. And try to just discontinue the counting, just continue to remember just breathing in, sitting, breathing out, sitting. Try to hold that outline of the body in the mind's eye. So try to tune into the 4 phases of each breath cycle. Expanding in breath and the brief pause. The contracting out breath and the brief pause. Those pauses between the breaths, feel the sitting body. Just breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. Just try to feel and remember that much. It's not much to remember. It's the ongoing, continuous present moment of this body. Breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. Breath by breath, moment by moment. Sort of just watching the body sitting and breathing as though you were looking into a mirror, just watching the body sitting and breathing. But not as a visual image, as a collection of sensations, a collage of sensations. At the same time, be alert for thoughts trying to sneak up into the mind, steal your attention away. If you notice the thoughts, just be aware, it's just thinking. Just let go of the thoughts. Keep remembering, breathing in, sitting, breathing out, sitting. If it helps you to stay focused, continue to take deeper, slower breaths. Help feel the breathing easier. Just feeling all the different sensations of the breathing body. catch the mind lost in thoughts, recognize it as lost, or thinking. Take a deep, slow breath, bring the mind back into the body, back to in, sitting, out, sitting. Re-establish that outline of the body in the mind's eye. If there's any drowsiness, you see more deep, slow breathing. Check your posture in between the breaths. Keep the head and spine straight. Just keep turning up the power of the mental microscope to notice more and subtler details, sensations in the breathing body. Try to notice how each breath is different, sometimes longer, sometimes shorter. Sometimes the pauses between the breaths are longer or shorter. Sometimes you feel the breathing more in the abdomen, sometimes you feel it more in the chest. It's always changing. It helps to concentrate. You can count your breaths again, or concentrate. Breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. So many different sensations come and go. Pleasure, pain come and go. Perceptions, thoughts, urges come and go. Thoughts of I, me, or mine come and go. These are all just a continuous flow of the five aggregates in their nature of impermanent, rising to briefly last and vanish through the six senses. But awareness, body-centered awareness, is merely the witness, the ongoing, onlooking of witness. Awareness is like mental space through which all the various sense stimulations arise and vanish. The constant flow of impermanence and change. Observing that is meditation, keeping the mind in the middle. In the present moment. This breathing body is the natural connection to the present moment awareness. If we lose that connection to the breathing body, then the mind either goes to sleep or gets carried away. Thoughts and worries, emotions from the past and future, fear, anxiety. Connection to the breathing body is like the anchor of a ship embedded in the ocean floor. Keep the ship steady in a storm. What thoughts come into the mind based on that sound vibration? Sambe sankhara anicchati yada panyaya pasati atanibindati dukhi esamango visuddhya dukkha patacani dukkha bhaya patacani bhaya sokha patacani sokha hontu sabbe pipanino. All conditioned things of this body, mind, and world are impermanent. They arise only to briefly last, then vanish. When one sees this with the eye of wisdom, one becomes disenchanted with suffering. This is the path to purity and freedom. And may the suffering be free from suffering. May the fear-struck be free from fear. May the grieving be free from grief. In this way may all beings live with mindfulness and wisdom. Thus spoke the Buddha. Now I invite you to join in chanting the word sadhu 3 times slowly. We do that on a long out breath, feeling those vibrations in the body and mind. Take a deep breath. Breathe. Now mindfully place your hands at the edge of your knees. Take one more deep breath as you're breathing in. Stretch your head back while pulling the hands on the knees to arch your spine. Look up at the ceiling. Lift the head up on an in-breath, and on the out-breath, press the chin to the top of the chest to stretch the neck vertebrae. Lift the chin up level on an in-breath. And relax on the out-breath. Put a smile on your face. Okay, friends, so this brings our evening Dhamma discussion and meditation to to an end. Although, as I always say, mindfulness should never end. The body is always right here with us all the time. There's no reason why you can't just remember it. This body is ground zero to the present moment. Practice the M&Ms, stopping every hour during the day to stop what you're doing, letting go of the past or future in your mind. Take a few deep, slow breaths. Let's come back to the present moment and standing, breathing, sitting, breathing. We're sending out metta in that 1 minute. Especially if you've gotten upset with some people in the last hour or so, forgive them for anything they might have said or done to you, or forgive yourself if you did something unmindfully so you don't carry that into the next hour. That's the real practice of Dhamma, the right effort, cultivating wholesome states, abandoning unwholesome states. But you can only do that with mindfulness. All right, friends, so be well, be safe, be mindful, be wise. Hopefully we'll see you again next week. And Namo Buddhaya.
Thank you, Bhante. Thank you, everyone.
Buddhaya, thank you, Bhante.
Budaya. Thank you, Bhante.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Bhante.
everyone.
Thank you, Bhante.
Yeah. A good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bhante.
Good night.